So like I mentioned earlier, I did not breastfeed my daughter Nova, and based on poor information about a specific medication that I was taking while I was pregnant, turned out to be the safer of the two of that sort of medication to take while pregnant. I learned later. But my second child, so I mourned breastfeeding. I wanted to breastfeed. I was planning to breastfeed. Kind of my dreams about it came crashing down, And here in Athens, we have a real breastfeeding community where it's pretty normal to breastfeed here in Athens. And so I spent lots of time at the baby groups, at the library, and the birth circle, and I was like, gosh darn it, I'm so mad that I got bad information, you know. And then when I had my next child, so Nova was 3.5 when I had Oren, and I was bound and determined to nurse him no matter what. And I had a natural birth with him, which made, breastfeeding happen easier afterwards. And I feel like I pushed through lots of issues because I didn't even see them as an issue because I was finally breastfeeding, and I was very happy that I was finally breastfeeding. And so I can look back seeing a few things that maybe would have been issues, but I just kind of pushed on through and made it work. When he was 4 months old, I started working at WIC as a breastfeeding peer helper. That's when I discovered all the information from Nova that I had been given poor information. And so that's when I really got, passionate about helping moms with breastfeeding, just getting the information into their hands, because truly you cannot make an informed decision if you're not dealing with the correct information. So then I had my third child, and I was cracked and bleeding within 24 hours after my home birth. I had her at home. It took me a while to be comfortable with that. My third child, I was ready to have a home birth. And I had damage within 24 hours, and she had that tip of the tongue tie. Dr. Shelton clipped it in the office, made breastfeeding much more comfortable. But again, looking back and at this point I was at IBCLC, so I knew all about breastfeeding, but it's different when it's yourself, and you're trying to apply all that you know to your own body. It's interesting.
Right, I'm sure.
And so, I can look back and still see some of the issues that she, had that were related to that back part of the tongue still being tied. And then my most recent experience, Sophie, she also was tongue-tied, but it wasn't as obvious. She had the posterior type. And so this is kind of when I learned all about this topic was because of her. And so I've kind of been through the gamut with problems. I didn't see them as problems with Oren and just pushed on through, and then, dealing with pain, and it was new to me, even though I had already studied breastfeeding and had all this knowledge, but I still struggled with getting everything worked out. So help is so key,